Good evening and welcome to the August 6th regular meeting of the Holland City Council. I'm Mayor Nathan Box and I'm calling this meeting to order. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Byrd. Vreeman.
Here.
Raymond.
Yes, here.
Corbin. Here. Soul.
Here.
Rowan.
Here.
Shea.
Here.
Schulteis.
Present.
Mayor Box.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. We're going to begin this evening's meeting as we have for many years, first with an opening prayer. It's supposed to be Councilmember Byrd this evening, but he's running a few minutes late, and Councilmember Vreeman has graciously agreed to cover for him, followed immediately by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we would invite you to join us.
If you're inclined, would you join me, please? Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, and we're grateful for the gift of life that you've granted to each one of us and the many opportunities that have come today to serve you. We ask now that you would lead us and guide us with wisdom and with grace and with patience with one another, and that we would be able to handle this agenda that would reflect the best of our community and your wishes for it. And so we put that agenda before you. We ask that you give traveling mercies to those that are still making their way here, and for those that are sick and suffering in our community, would you be gracious to them? Thank you for loving us and for giving us. It's by your name we pray. Amen. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Vreeman. Next item on our agenda are our consent agenda items. These are items that are considered fairly routine and have been reviewed by council members as part of our council packet, and they will be enacted in one motion unless a member of the public or a member of council asks to have an item removed from the consent agenda, and if so, that item will be placed in its regular order on the regular agenda. But before I ask if anyone would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda, Brenda, would you please review that consent agenda for us?
Okay, item 4A, excuse the absence of Councilmember Byrd. 4B, approve the minutes of the July 16 regular meeting and July 23, 2025 study session. 4C, oaths of office. 4D, proposed addendum to the third restated city manager employment agreement. 4E, a claim filed against the city. 4F, Michigan Municipal League Annual Convention voting delegates. 4G, custody account agreement. 4H, April financial reports. 4I, purchase of 3 mowers, 1 utility tractor with bucket, 1 snow blower, and 2 gators. 4J, emergency purchase of 4 replacement compressors at the Holland Civic Center Place. 4K, revised bid acceptance for 1 additional set of firefighter turnout gear. 4L, award bid for purchase of replacement computer equipment. 4M, ordinance amendment first reading, 2021 International Fire Code with final reading on August 20, 2025. And 4N, from Human Resources Delegates to Municipal Employees Retirement System Annual Meeting.
Great. Thank you, Brenda. Is there any member of the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda? Seeing none. Any member of council that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, Your Honor. Item 4J and placed on the regular agenda under 12E 4.5.
All right, that's the emergency purchase of 4 replacement compressors at the Holland Civic Center Place. Is there any other member of council that would like to have an item removed from consent agenda? All right, seeing none, what is the pleasure of council in regard to the consent agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as presented with exception of J.
All right, we have a motion. Is there support? Motion by Vreeman, support by Rowan. Any discussion? Seeing none, Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Vreeman.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Corbin.
Yes.
Soul.
Yes.
Rowan.
Yes.
Shea.
Yes.
Schulteis.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Under the Open Meetings Act of the State of Michigan, we provide the public the opportunity to address council at our regular meetings, our study sessions, and at every single board, committee, and commission meeting. Gives the public the opportunity to address council on any subject matter that they believe is important. This is one-way communication. It's the opportunity for you to address council. We do not answer questions during this time or engage in discussion, and we do limit your time to 5 minutes. There are 3 lights on the dais in front of me. There's a green light, a yellow light, and a red light. Green light means you're doing well on time. Yellow light means that you have 1 minute left, and the red light means that your time has expired, and we are strict about that. We ask that when you approach the podium, you please state your name and the municipality in which you live, because it's important to us to know whether you are a resident of the city of Holland or not. And please address council with all of your comments. Having said that, is there anyone here who would like to address council at this time? If so, please come forward. And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Ann Henriksen, Zealand. Each year in the fall, we are having the National April Faith Month organization Shine the Light in Holland, Collin Park Band Shell. There will be bilingual worship concert bringing communities together for musical expression. Please come and enjoy the music and the change in the atmosphere. It's Saturday the 27th, 4 o'clock to 7 p.m. Sunday, August 3rd, there was a Hispanic concert at Collin Park hosted by Engedi Church. A member was inspired to have a worship outside in a park. National April Faith Month advertised the good news of this concert. About 150 people came. Prior to 4 o'clock, the band set up their instruments and speakers on the bandshell stage. When Pastor Cruz arrived, he informed them that there was some miscommunication because the city of Holland does not sponsor Christian activities on the bandshell. The band removed their instruments from the bandshell. Someone had a large circular rug, and they put the drum set on that. The soundboard was on a picnic table with other equipment in the grass, as is required. He delayed the concert for 30 minutes. The people in the band were not happy. They were very disappointed. Yes, we can worship anywhere, but this is disrespecting the faith community by prohibiting the use of available, appropriate accommodations. To see the city's negligent reputation is growing. This was the Hispanic community. This makes your policy discriminating against race and religion. Last night, the National Night Out was fantastic, a lot of fun. The police and the fire department are absolutely the best in the country. I loved that during the police dog demonstration, the policemen answered good questions from the children. The food trucks and Polar Patrol were just what everyone wanted. This wasn't a community event, but the religious community was not represented. The Christian Crossroads Motorcycle Organization application was denied by Mark Cornelius, and that was 2024, but it went the same this year. I don't think that Mark got the memo that separation of church and state is null and void. His rationale was that CCMO website listed evangelism among all the other things they do, supplying black backpacks to homeless, tulip time events, providing meals to escape ministry summer programs. All these participations are Holland community orientated. The motorcycle organization provides a safe, God-centered community for those who love motorcycles and love God. Is evangelizing prohibited in the anti-discrimination ordinance, or does this fall under orientation, identity, speech, and expression category? Mr. Cornelius's argument was the National Night Out is for anyone who provides human services. Mr. Cornelius understands evangelism as converting people to your way of thinking. That is manipulation and indoctrination. His reasoning is from separation of church and state, which again is null and void. The Christian Motorcycle Group expresses their faith in being generous to the community by supporting people's needs. They do not convert people to their way of thinking. They believe God saves souls, not men, convincing, twisting to their way of thinking. Mr. Cornelius rejected their organization with a separation of church and state mentality. Here's what's happening. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is basically inoperable because it hides in the skirts of separation of church and state. This is null and void. Keeping religion out of public city domains is discrimination of a protected class. The Collin Park ban shall deny religious expression, and now the same for the National Night Out. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Please come forward. And would you please state your name and municipality for the record?
Hi, I'm Brian Barlow. Kim Rowan is my person. Real quick, I've only lived here, my wife and I have lived here about a year and a half, and I'm sure some of the things I mentioned maybe you've already gone over, but I made some quick notes. Last time I was here, I talked about painting lines on the street, and I say, you took my advice. Somebody did. But crosswalks, I'm seeing crosswalks, especially around schools, are very faint, very bad, especially at Washington and Michigan. Big intersection, very, very faint. And a lot of intersections, the crosswalks, they're very, very narrow strips. You can't see them. So for public safety, that was one of my concerns. Also, I was recently at Ottawa Beach, and I had my phone. I had no service. Now, I don't care about surfing and looking online, but I'm thinking about emergencies. What if someone has a medical emergency, a boat just tried, someone, whatever. You can't contact 911. I wasn't able to, had no service. Maybe you guys already know about that. But my wife and I, we took a huge chance and we went to the 4th of July at Collin Park because the massive crowd, you had 2,000 people. Now, easily or more. This was a missed opportunity. You know, I know people don't want to work on the 4th of July. You had 3 food trucks and no music, and you have a radio station right in town, the Van 92.7, think maybe they would come in, play the music, keep people occupied, play some patriotic music when the fireworks are going off. It was a missed opportunity for you people to connect with, or the city to connect with your constituents, and maybe you want to do a little PR work with them. You know, you had 2,000. I mean, I've never seen so many people in that park ever. It was shoulder to shoulder. So recently, my wife and I took advantage of a kayak launching we did through Evergreen Commons, and we were at the Windows of the World, right where river, just before the bridge, little green spot there. What a great spot to develop, and it would be very simple, low cost, just get a shovel and just, you know, scrape off the muck on the top, dump some sand, have the fire department take their hose and spray some of the muck that's right inside, dump some sand. You guys could have make some money with a permit to have someone come in and rent the kayaks or canoes, maybe put a food truck. It would be one more thing that you could say, hey, Holland, come to Holland. We got a great spot to launch your kayaks and go into the back bay and all that great things. It would be a nice thing to have, because right now people go to either that mucky spot or they go to a boat launch. So also being kind of new here, I do speak to people who are new or have been here for about a year, and we say, well, did you hear about this, hear about this? No, I never heard about this. Well, what about this? You know, like, there's no like welcome wagon. I understand that's something that's a business that's been around since like 1920s. You come into a community, you're given a swag bag full of things about your community you're moving into. Like, we know that Sperry Theater's $6 on Tuesdays. Well, I told this to people, never knew about it. And these people lived here for years. There's a lot of little things. It would be an opportunity for your retailers to advertise, come to us. They could offer coupons, get people to come more into downtown, talk about things, because I keep running into people who says, I have no idea that this was here or this was available. And I don't think you have any kind of a welcome wagon kind of thing here, but it's just a thought. Yellow, oh no. Whoa, my last one is they're tearing up 31st Street, they're just begun. And I was talking to the guys who are tearing up the street, and I pointed to these trees with all these low hanging, I mean, I'm hitting them with, I just have a Subaru, and I'm hitting these branches, and their trucks came in and just ripped the hell out of these branches. They're hanging out, they're lying in the street. And I said, you guys ever talk to the people who cut the trees? Yeah, but they don't show up. So we've got these low hanging branches now on 30th Street. They managed to come and do right in front of my street on 30th because I badgered them. I called them a year ago, and then I went to Parks and Rec, and I said, hey, you guys need to come over here and take care of this. I've hit this one with my truck once, and they did that, but they left the
Mr.
hole.
Mayor, that is 5 minutes.
Oh, no. I got it in. Anyway.
I'm sorry, your time has expired. Thank you, though.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Seeing none, I will close the public comment period. Next item on the agenda, item number 9, written petitions and communications. In addition to providing the public the opportunity to address council in person at our meetings, we also have an email address where you can send an email that will reach all council members. That is publiccomment@cityofholland.com. Once again, publiccomment@cityofholland.com. When we receive those, we do accept them into the public record at our regular meetings. We do not read them out loud at our meetings, but we do accept them into the public record. We do not have any this evening, but I always like to make sure that the public knows that they can send an email that will be received by all members of council. And again, that is publiccomment@cityofholland.com. Next item on the agenda, item 12, Echo 2.1, amend the housing development support policy to add residential housing exception. Mr. Van Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a familiar topic to all of you because we've talked about it in a couple study sessions, but it's the first time on one of our televised meetings. Mark is going to walk us through the discussion and the direction that Council you provided to us, and then ultimately our recommendation and hopefully your action to amend our housing development policy to add this particular economic development tool to support housing.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. You'll recall we've had a couple discussions on this topic, both at the June and July study sessions. Staff is recommending that we add a new tool, a new incentive to our housing development support policy. It involves Public Act 237 of 2022, the Residential Housing Facilities Act. And what it involves is a 50% ad valorem tax break up to 12 years for eligible properties. Those properties have to be more than 4 units and rented to or leased to income qualified individuals. So it's a tool to further new and rehabbed rental housing to affordable residents. For a rehab, the property owners must invest a minimum of $50,000 into their properties. And if you recall, we do have a pending application for Heights of Hope for their 1061 Abbey Court 6-unit facility. Under the policy, if you choose to amend it, staff is recommending a somewhat conservative approach to limit eligible properties to 10 units or less, and also that the units be rented to households with incomes of 80% area median income or less. Again, staff feels that this would be a useful tool to incentivize affordable housing, both new and rehab of our existing housing. If you choose to amend the policy to add this, then we will consider the pending application of Heights of Hope. And if you recall, during our discussions, the next process would be developing a residential housing district and then considering their exemption application. Also, just a fun fact, I was reaching out to some colleagues on the listserv to see if anyone else in the state had done this, and it appears that only the city of Petoskey has done one of these yet. And that was for a new development, but it was very helpful to get examples of their resolutions. And then I also mentioned the district. We talked about, should it be just that property, or should it be the larger area? And you'll see that recommendation coming forth if you choose to amend the policy. And we're looking at a larger area that would encompass high density residential zoning in that area. So with that, any questions?
Any questions for staff? Lynn?
Mark, can you explain what the parameters are for new developments? I don't think we talked about that much.
Yeah, a new development does not have a minimum investment.
Okay.
But typically, a new development is certainly going to be much greater than the investment requirement for rehabbed units.
So then it's just the
Or
affordability.
rehabbed properties.
So it's just the affordable component that
Right.
new developments would have to follow.
Correct.
Okay.
They
And
would-
same
yep.
80%.
They would have to meet the income requirements, yeah.
And I understand that the act requires the residential housing district. Can you explain what that is and why that's a requirement?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that this legislation was somewhat based on IFTs, or PA 198 industrial tax abatements, which requires essentially the local unit to think ahead in kind of a planned fashion about what areas do we want this incentive to cover instead of piecemealing it. So it's a requirement of the act. We looked at it, and you'll see later on a map that has a very logical area
Okay.
in that part of town for a district.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Yeah, Mike?
Mark, appreciate the work on this. I know that we're very intentional about affordable housing opportunities and how we can incentivize it. Just so that people know how the math plays out, could you describe 80% of AMI so that we talk about what portion of the population is being targeted with this incentive?
So 80% AMI for a family, for example, would be about $80,000 or less in annual income.
Any other questions for staff? Yeah, I've got one or two. We spent a lot of time talking about this
Sure.
at study session, and this is really a kind of a niche market here. We've got incentives for much larger programs and properties.
Right.
I know we talked about roughly the number of properties that might qualify for this, and I don't want to hit you without knowing that, but that do you recall about how many properties there are in the city that might qualify for this type of program?
Yeah, based on the parameters that staff is suggesting, about 37 properties.
Okay, so we're looking at
within the entire city.
within the entire
Could-
city, just
could
37.
qualify.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we were targeting smaller landlords,
Yes.
smaller properties, under 10 units, but more than 4 units.
Yes.
And they've got to make a $50,000 improvement investment in the property in order to qualify for this.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a real targeted in nature, but something that could be a real benefit for that property owner who's looking to invest in their property and also wants to be able to provide that affordability. So it gives them that incentive.
Thank you for that. That's a very good point. So this incentive would really look at the smaller property owners, not the large developers.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, great. Thank you. Any other questions? Great. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Move to approve?
Moved by Raymond. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Sol. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Shea.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mark for all the good work. I think this is awesome because, as you said, Mr. Mayor, just that it is, we've got a lot of incentives for large landlords, and this is a great opportunity for kind of finding some support for smaller scale development. And it's always super exciting to have a new tool in our tool belt. So I encourage y'all to keep coming up with those new tools. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Great. Any other discussion? Great. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Raymond? Yes. Corbin? Yes. Soul?
Yes.
Rowan?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Schulteis?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful, thank you. Next item on the agenda, 12 Echo 3.1, window on the waterfront site lighting. Mr. Van Beek?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I think we've gotten into a good routine here where when we are making investments, particularly in our parks and recreation, instead of adding that, like when we buy a piece of equipment, sometimes that's not quite as exciting or something that brings value to the community. We try to make sure that we give an opportunity to present a little bit more on that. And this is absolutely one of those times again. And I think Andy again said, Garrett, you're up. So Garrett Thalen is going to come up here and he's going to talk about what we definitely think is a needed and a great improvement at Window on the Waterfront. So thanks for being here tonight, Garrett.
Evening, Council. So this has been in the MCIF project for a while. I have some pictures to show the scope of the work here, but I don't think anybody will see it as an accident, the timing of this with a big investment in the ice park. We've been kind of waiting for that domino to fall so that way we could fit this around it. It's always a little bit of fitting puzzle pieces together when we do projects like this to see what goes first and then what we match from that. And then one thing I will note is the site lighting that is going to be on this trail is going to be matching the site lighting that exists along with the ice park project. So not necessarily in the park, but it would go along the exterior of it. So as I mentioned, this project has been in the MCIF budget for a while. So that site lighting that's been there has exceeded its service life. We've invested a lot of money in trying to make the existing system work, but unfortunately right now the best option for us is what we've been recommended is to have a complete tear out and start over. This will provide an opportunity to have conduit rather than what's existing, and then also we're going to have better bases to protect the wiring to keep basically rodents out of the wiring system. And then obviously with the park use increasing significantly, this is going to be an important project as far as park usability. We've gone through a couple winters without having that site lighting working. And we want to make sure that we are protecting our public spaces as much as possible, especially as we have that increased usability, especially shoulder seasons when we talk about November, March, when there might not be snow on the ground, but people still want to be able to walk through that park area. So this is the bid. Obviously there's a lot going on here, but as you can see, the base bid is what's existing. That came back a little bit higher than we were expecting, and we'll talk about pricing in the next phase. But that base bid is what we have there currently, and then we wanted to be opportunistic since we are going to be putting lighting in there and there's going to be increased use in that park, is provide a site lighting trail along the 3rd Street parking lot to connect to that main trail Window on the Waterfront. And then at the north part of Window on the Waterfront, basically across where that bridge will go, we want to also provide site lighting there to that new parking lot or resurfaced parking lot. And then also the playscape, we wanted to put some additional lighting in there just to continue to allow usability on certain days that their community wants to use it when it gets darker out. One part of this bid that we are not recommending is alternate 1. After exploring it, continue to explore it, we do want to continue to expand what Riverview looks like and explore what Riverview could look like before we make the investment into the site lighting portion of that. So here's the total cost. It comes back at $350,000 and some change, but from that we have the base bid that came back around $225,000. And then alternate 2 came back about $39,000. Alternate 3 came back around $31,000, and then alternate 4 was at $22,000. And then we do carry for these types of projects a 10% contingency just because things do happen along this. So we don't see a ton of issues that will take place, but after talking to Polarity, who we are recommending, it might be best to just carry that 10% contingency for this project as well. So as we mentioned, we are recommending Polarity Electric for this project. They're a local company. We've called around to some local municipalities who have used them. They come highly recommended, and it also helps out that they are low bid as well. So that's all I have for this project.
Any questions for staff? Mr. Shea?
Just curious, Garrett, what's the economic lifespan of something like this? Do we know?
Yeah, around 30 years is what it seems to be. Yeah, this has been one that, quite honestly though, this one has been a struggle ever since we've gone through even the Snyder Electric project, which I wasn't around for, but yeah, that's what I've kind of heard, so.
Yeah. Other questions? Tim?
So yeah, so we are hoping, and we did draw this up in the bid, that November 15th, it'll be ready to go. No accident, that this will be coincide with the Ice Park project. And then they are going to install the box, basically all the controls that are gonna be in the Ice Park will control this site lighting as well. So yeah, so hopefully opening day for skating, everything will be lit up.
Any other questions? Yeah, Lynn?
So you said this is in the capital improvement plan?
Yep.
Is this about what the budget was for that?
No, this came back, that quote came back a lot significantly lower. We're at 125 for that. And then there was a couple factors in that. One, that quote was pretty old. And also it wasn't necessarily, COVID was, it is an impact in that. That's how old that initial quote is.
Okay.
Other questions? Yeah, Mr. Van Beek.
I think it's important, and sometimes since we just do motion to approve, that the motion does suggest making an amendment to the MCIF to offset this additional cost. So just so everyone's aware, because that was a really good question.
Garrett, we did some lighting in this area a year or two ago, 3 years ago, did we not? Wasn't there, I seem to recall with the field lighting.
Yes, yep, so that's sports lighting.
Okay.
Yep, so that's basically so soccer and volleyball can have.
Okay,
can
but that was
see.
in the same general area, wasn't it?
Yep, that is the
Okay.
same general area. It'll kind of connect to that blue area that we talked about in alternate one. Oh, that's more where that site lighting went.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that's a high quality system that lights up the world. This will be less invasive to the neighbors, so.
Yeah, I just remembering a really big price tag on that one.
Yes.
Yes, okay, this is significantly less than that one was. All right. Any other questions for staff on this one? All right, what is the pleasure of council in regard to item 12 Echo 3.1?
Move to approve the site lighting project for the cost and approve the municipal capital improvement fund budget accordingly.
Motion by Sol, is there support?
Support.
Support by Shea. Any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Corbin? Yes. Sol?
Yes.
Rowan?
Yes.
Shay?
Yes.
Schulteis?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Raymond?
Yes.
Mayor Box?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 12 Echo 3.2, Lakeview School Park Fence Installation. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Garrett's going to come up and present on this one too. You've seen a few other investments that we've made here. And remember, Lakeview School Park should not be confused with Lakewood Park, Lakeview Park. Maybe you can just point that out to everyone again, because like you got to hear that a few times, right,
Yep.
Garrett?
Yeah, so we have Lakeview School Park, and then we have just regular Lakeview Park. Lakeview Park was the one that got the port in place pad that has a playground not too long, about 3 years ago, that installation. So this one is affectionately known online as the biggest dog park in Holland. Not intended that way, but yeah, so at 32nd and Losers, we pretty much we've had out this piece of property for a while now, and we've had the opportunity now to develop it a little bit. So this is what the property currently looks like. It looks a little bit different now. But yeah, we've been kind of kicking around a good way to activate that space. And right now we again, it gets used a lot for dogs off leash, but also we have a few soccer practices every year that want to be out there just because their family is on that side of town. I always cringe a little bit now, or I cringed a little bit before when they would go out there to practice, just because that's not the first park we want them to go to. But that's going to be different now, so that's exciting. So this is what the master plan was in 2019. It was going to be a $3.1 million build. Obviously, that's going to be that would be a lot different today. A lot of components from this were what we have existing and what we kind of went after. As far as the courts and the sand volleyball, that's not something that we're pursuing at this time. No pickleball courts at this time either, but we mainly focused a lot on taking care of, trying to enhance of what we have. So as we mentioned, when we looked at enhancing what we have, we're going to remove a lot of unusable components, so old concrete, asphalt, fencing, baseball stone dust. The baseball backstop, although it was in good shape, it's way too close to 32nd Street and Losers for it to be used properly. And that's why we had a lot of trouble outside of T-ball using it. And then as far as enhancing existing features, we have already irrigated the soccer fields, and then we're working on irrigating common areas. That concrete pad that still is out there is in pretty good shape. Used to be a basketball court / tennis court. That's going to be turned into a parking lot. And then we're going to have new soccer goals out there. And then we're going to add some basic park features. Because it is such a good spot to have your dog off leash, we are going to provide a dog area. That's the main driver of being here tonight, is getting the fencing part of it approved from you. And then we'd also, when we were looking at the numbers, we were able to save enough money to provide a playground for that space, which is something that we're really excited about. And then providing a park sign so people can find it effectively. And then we're going to also add some natural features. There was one tree in this park when we started this project, and we had to take it down because it was dying, so that was unfortunate. So a little bit ironic that there's no trees in this park. So we're going to add a berm along 32nd Street to really soften the space between the soccer field and 32nd Street. And then a lot of tree lines. We're going to look to put about 50 to 70 trees in this space once it's all said and done this fall. So this is the projected layout. Soccer fields have already been leveled. As I mentioned, the current cement pad that's out there, concrete pad, is going to be parking. The playground space will go just to the south of it. The off-leash dog area will be where the baseball field used to be, and then open green space will operate similar to what Rosa Parks does, is that we'll be able to use it for a small soccer field for first and second graders, kindergartners as needed, but we'll also just have it be an open spot for people to hang out, read a book. We'll have trees around the area to provide some shade as well. So the projected budget, what we have budgeted for in the MCIF, was between irrigation at Lakeview School Park and then $300,000 to invest. We had $400,000 total. We're about halfway through that as far as what we spent, and then what we're going to be requesting in the future. So we're in good shape. We're coming in a little bit under budget, but obviously things change, and as you continue to work through these projects, there's always one or two surprises that come that present themselves. So, yeah, and that's all I have for you.
All right. Questions for staff? Mr. Vreeman.
Thanks, Garrett. Is the tree line going to be irrigated as well along there?
Yeah, yep. That was an add-on that we had throughout the irrigation project. Our irrigation specialist, Pancho, was able to, work with the guys at Evergreen, and they were able to add some additional heads along the road so that the tree lines those trees are going to be healthy. Yep.
Lynn.
I know we're just approving the fence installation tonight, but I wondered about, could you go back to the picture? Who's doing that? So there doesn't seem to be like a natural crosswalk to this park. Is there a plan for moving people from the north to the south across 32nd Street? It's so busy there.
Yeah, currently there isn't a plan. I can reach out to Brian White
Yeah,
though
that'd
and
be
see
great.
what the data looks like to provide that.
Yeah, that'd be great, thanks.
Mr. Van Beek.
I will let you know, because this is not far from my neighborhood, that the cross on 32nd Street along Lugers, it doesn't show up very well there, but that's a pretty common crosswalk. The sight lines are pretty good there. So I think outside of that corner, that would probably be all that you'd have, because you don't have sidewalks along the southern side, I believe.
Other questions for staff? So I've been driving by there quite a bit lately. There's been an awful lot of dirt that's been coming onto that site. Is the elevation going to change on that site, or is that dirt that's coming in for the berm? Because it seems like way more dirt than there's going to be needed for the berm.
Yeah, everybody got really excited, initially when we started hauling dirt out there. They thought there was going to be a big building that was going out there, but nope, that was just to level the site so the soccer ball wouldn't roll completely into the street, because it was at quite a bit of a grade before.
Okay, great. Yes, Belinda.
Garrett, thank you. I'm excited. When I moved to Michigan 35 years ago, I didn't understand the word fur babies, and I have a few, so I'm really excited that it's on this side of town. Wondering about parking, like how many parking spots currently are at the site?
Yeah, so that middle area, there's going to be about 40 parking spots that'll be available, and then at that east side, near the dog park area, there'll be about 15 spots. And then long-term planning, I guess I will be recommending at some point that we add parking to the west side of the soccer fields. So there'll be 3 different parking areas.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff? All right, great. Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it. What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Move to approve the Lakeview School Park fence installation.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Sol. Any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Sol.
Yes.
Rowan.
Yes.
Shay.
Yes.
Schultheis.
Yes.
Vreeman.
Yes.
Raven.
Yes.
And Corbin.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
And 12 Echo 4.1, award request for proposal for demolition and cataloging of greenhouse. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. For some of you, this project predates and extends beyond your service on council. Others of you go, oh man, this one's been around a while. I know this has been around since I walked into my role here. So we're pretty excited. This is potentially one of, if not the final kind of approval steps of a pretty involved and complex set of work to get a greenhouse preserved and put in a new space. I do want to remind you have one recommendation in front of you tonight for demolition and cataloging. But again, and I think Andy, when walks through it, you'll recall, and then we'll also be able to answer any questions about the multiple things that are being wrapped up with what's being proposed tonight. So thanks for being here, Andy.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thanks for having me tonight. And as Keith alluded to, I'm here tonight to get approval to award the RFP that we put out over a month ago to have the greenhouse at 496 Central Avenue selectively demoed, cataloged, and have that site raised and leveled in the future. The beginning of July, we opened sealed RFPs for this project. We had 5 bidders. We took our time developing this RFP and decided that we needed to do it in 2 phases. And we weren't requiring any of the bidders to bid on both phases. They could if they wanted to. As you can see in the report, we had a couple companies that picked just a single phase to do, either 1 or 2, and then three companies that did, or 2 companies that did phases 1 and 2. We're recommending going with the low bidders tonight, which is a company called Renovation Services. They're a historic greenhouse renovation and demolition company that does this all over the Midwest. They're out of Kentucky. And then Pitch Company will do the general demolition, phase 2, which will be just knocking down the greenhouses that are left after Renovation Services takes out the selective things that we need them to do. And then they will grade the site, level it, and seed it, and it'll be a flat green space after they're completed. The first phase, the renovation part, renovation services part, will include taking down the Tropical House. I took a picture of it here. This is looking west from Central Avenue. The Tropical House is in building number 4 is what we call it. It's a 27-foot by 27-foot piece of that greenhouse, the tall portion. We call it the Tropical House because I've said this before, but as you may recall, we used to hold tropical plants in that house that were really tall. And in the springtime, we would take them down to Centennial Park by tractor loads at a time and then heal them into the ground. And then in the fall, we'd bring them back to the greenhouse, and that's where they would live. 2009, straight line winds that knocked out a whole bunch of other stuff in the city, knocked out those plants too. So they haven't existed in that greenhouse for many, many years. So the first phase would take all the pieces and parts of that Tropical House, that 27 by 27 foot chunk, all the glass off of it, and they'd take it apart piece by piece like an erector set, and they would label everything so that they can catalog it, put it on pallets, and then the next phase, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, will be taking those pieces, stripping them down or painting them or both, and then moving that and putting that back together again in Centennial Park next year. So that's phase 1, and then phase 2 would happen concurrently right after that project, or kind of simultaneously. We'll let the contractors work out the schedule, but the pitch company would then come through and then demo the rest of the site piece by piece. We'll do our best to recycle the metal and the glass that's there. That's part of the bid as well, so they'll work on that. There is a little bit of a contingency cooked into this project as well, because we're confident that there is asbestos and there is lead paint that they will have to remediate, and they're fine doing that. So this would happen if it gets approved tonight. We would contact the contractors tomorrow morning, and they said that they could probably mobilize and get on site sometime in September, and then it would take about 5 to 8 weeks for the project to be done. If we continue to have hot, dry weather like we have, I don't see a problem with that at all. I did take a couple other pictures. Whoops, skipped ahead a little bit. Just a couple pictures. Everybody's familiar with how it looks right now. It kind of looks like Jurassic Park in there. There's some trees growing through it and the plastic on the buildings. Just a couple other photos of what it looks like today. Keith kind of mentioned earlier, this process has been going on for quite a while, and since December 2023 is when we went to the Historic District Commission and received a notice to proceed to do the selective demolition and then a certificate of appropriateness to move the structure to Centennial Park once we get to that point. We've presented here on that before, so that shouldn't be anything new. But this picture that you're looking at now shows the project area of where we want to move the structure once we have it taken apart. You will recall too probably that we're suggesting and recommending and designing it to have no glass. It's just going to be a metal structure, a skeleton if you will, built on a knee wall similar to what's there now to kind of preserve the historic look of what it is. We would add some landscaping and some lighting and have some plumbing and things like that to take care of the plants around it. This was also part of a Centennial Park master plan that you may recall we did a number of years ago too, that looked at the park as a whole, and this area in the southeast corner will help balance the park. There's nothing currently there in that open green space, so between the Osbook across the way towards City Hall, the fountain and the gazebo, this will really from a landscape architecture point of view will help balance the park very well. This is kind of an overview of the site plan of what it may look like, or what it will look like. We'll have a connection to 12th Street on the sidewalk to the bottom of the picture, and to the top of the picture you'll see that connect to the sidewalk system in the park. We'll have some landscape that will go around it as well. This is just elevation. There's another shot of this too with people in it, so computer people, not real people, but you'll see it. You'll see the opening of the door too, right? So that particular view is similar to the first picture I showed with the wooden doors that open up that everybody takes a picture of, including myself and my family that you'll see in a second. A couple more pictures of what it will look like from above and then from looking kind of from the corner of 12th and Central. This kind of gives it a good view. It looks gray in the photos here. We didn't pick a color, but we're leaning in on painting it black to match what the rest of the park looks like. There's a lot of wrought iron and the gazebo posts are painted black. The bottom wall may not be white. It may be concrete that has an exposed aggregate, which would look pretty cool. We're looking at that right now. So that's what that might look like. And another view from a different angle. It's going to be a really cool space. We think it's very important to keep telling the story of why the greenhouse existed, what it did for Centennial Park, and we think from a staff perspective that it's real appropriate to have that story be told in the park, and the tie between the two is very, very cool. We'll have a plaque of some sorts that will tell that story as well, embedded in the landscaping. Yeah, here's the picture. So that's my family photo from a couple years ago with all my family. I know Garrett took some engagement photos there. All of our staff you guys have probably been there taking photos as well. So that's kind of cool. And I think when we have it in Centennial Park, that ambiance of the space, the romanticizing of that space will still continue to happen. People will find it and they'll want to take their picture there, and it'll look very similar to this, just without the glass, which would be pretty cool. So I said earlier the next steps on this picture too, I say that. So once the demo is complete, you as council will need to appoint a study committee, which will be comprised of members of the Historic District Commission. That was decided about a year and a half ago. They will recommend the elimination of the vacant greenhouse historic district, since there isn't a greenhouse there anymore. They will recommend that. The group will then send a report to SHPO, and with that recommendation, and once the comments come back from SHPO, council will review that, and you will grant a vote and vote final on the district's elimination. The property will then get turned back over to Evergreen Commons to go back to the agreement that was in place when the snowmelt system got ran down Central and connected into their building and their space. So that's all coming, and that will happen probably quite rapidly now that we've gotten this far. Once the building is leveled, then that will trigger all of those other things, and we'll be back to talk again this fall. So any questions, please?
Tim.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate all the work. I know it's been going on forever.
Yeah.
I think I missed a piece. This proposal does not include the rebuild in Centennial, correct?
It does not. Nope.
Okay.
That'll be another phase, and we will start working on that bid process this summer yet. And once we get that, we've been working with GMB all the way along. We have to produce some construction drawings in order to have that go out for bid. But once that happens, we can get that out for bid and then get it on everybody's calendars to do next spring or this winter if we don't get snow. Who knows? You're welcome.
Mr. Corbin.
Long time coming.
Yes.
It's been a long conversation for many years, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into it. It's going to preserve Holland history. We see that. That's the first step, right?
Yes.
Safety is real important as well. We know that's deteriorating at a rapidly, and that I was always concerned. One of my concerns in visiting the site is we need to make it safe, and you guys have done a great job, but it's probably getting more difficult as time goes on. So I think we're going to make sure we succeed at getting this taken down and make that part of the community much safer. But and last, the use for Evergreen Commons. I think they're going to make really good space and use of that space going forward. So a lot of great things happening with this one project. So
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Devin.
You mentioned the doors. The doors will not be moved, correct? Or they
Yeah,
will?
so they'll be taken apart as well.
Okay.
A lot of it maybe have to be rebuilt as
Okay.
part of it. Those particular doors are wooden, so there's a lot of rot that's in there now. But they will measure those off, and that's part of the cataloging process too.
Okay, so there will be doors.
We'll have. So there will be doors, but they won't be functioning. How about
Sure,
that?
understand.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they'll be open and stationed in a spot, much like they look in that photo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
aesthetically. Great, wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Rowan and then Mr. Schulteis.
Thank you. I just was curious with the bids. There's quite a swing between, well, and I know there's the mix of the phase 1, phase 2, phase 1 and 2, so taking that into account. But you said you went with the lowest bidder.
Yep.
Was that your criteria, your
No,
guiding criteria?
Yep, it wasn't the only one. We did this as an RFP on purpose because of that. We weren't sure what kind of contractors we would get that had any experience doing any kind of greenhouse work, and particularly the phase one. Phase one we called it selective demolition, but it's a lot more than that. And we needed somebody that had some experience with either building greenhouses, historic greenhouses, much like this. I know you do know, but our greenhouse that we currently have is vastly different than this greenhouse. So there was a big difference between somebody that currently builds greenhouses and somebody that has built greenhouses from the past. So we interviewed all of the contractors as well after we opened the bids, and based upon those interviews, it just so happened that they were the lowest of their prospective phases.
Okay, so aside from price being beneficial, their experience and all the other factors that matter were
Correct.
taken into account.
They were, yep, absolutely. Yeah, Pitch even had experience demolishing greenhouses. So that was unique. I didn't expect that, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the remediation, I think, is all part of the bid as well, the remediating any asbestos.
Yeah, so it wasn't part of their number. They did, all the contractors said, we know that there will be asbestos there, and that'll be a cost on top of this bid. So we don't know, it could be a little bit of asbestos or a lot bit of asbestos, hence the contingency that we put in. From everything we heard, it could range from $2,000 to $10,000 in that range. So that's why that's there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Mr. Schulteis.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Housekeeping item first, storage of pieces and parts, not included, we'll store it
Correct.
where we got space?
Yep, they'll palletize it, and then we will store it in our pole barn for the winter. Yep.
And then, help me remember this correctly, the historic location will go away, but the structure will be maintained as a historic structure, is that correct?
Yeah, so the ground is, the space is actually in the historic district. That includes the building, but it's mostly the space. And that's why it's got to come back to council to get that removed. We are putting it into a historic park, and that was the reason we had to have the certificate of appropriateness from the Historic District Commission, because we're putting a structure into an existing historic place, which is Centennial Park. And since it's a historic greenhouse, it was a good fit.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So the preservation of it as a historic greenhouse is maintained by the cataloging and moving, is that
Yeah, so
accurate?
yeah, it was all kind of lumped together. So if we were to move, if we were to move that house and put it somewhere else, it would still be a historic greenhouse, but it's not a historic structure. The space was what was historic about the greenhouse, if that makes sense. It's a district, not a building. It's a district, so not a building.
Not the structure.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Rowan.
Yeah, thank you. I have a follow-up question on sort of that
Sure.
angle. So you listed off, so the ground that it's currently on is this historic thing.
Yep.
It's gonna go away, then we have to take off the historic title to that ground,
Correct.
essentially. And then you mentioned something about like a study group or some sort of,
Yeah, so that was a recommendation from the Historic District Commission, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's how that went. They determined that, hey, you can do this, but we recommend you have a study group that looks at this and makes the recommendation to SHPO. And that group, I talked with Anna Minabo today, and she said that group was, back then in 2023, was designated to be members of the Historic District Commission. So it wouldn't have to be members of City Council, it was of this District Commission to make the recommendation.
but we kind
Does
of
that
know
make
what the
sense?
recommendation will be.
We do, yeah, and so that's already kind of been talked
That's
with, even with even with SHPO, they've had conversations on how that process needs to work. So
Okay.
that's how that went.
So it's process over result.
Yes, right now. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would just add, if I could, Mr. Mayor, SHPO is State Historic Preservation Office. And process here would be, there's very defined process that you have to go through. So yes, basically the studies that we've done, we've walked through these processes, and basically, obviously, we can get different recommendations, and potentially you can take different votes. But all of the entities agree that what we've outlined for you tonight as far as the process is recommended and will be appreciated when that recommendation comes to them. How about saying it that way?
Yes.
Other questions for staff? Great. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
What is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
We would move to approve the proposal for demolition and cataloging the greenhouse.
Moved by Vreeman. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Rowan. Any discussion?
Good spelling.
Yeah. Again, great big thanks to staff on this. As Mr. Van Beek said, you walked into this already in process years ago. I walked into this in process years ago. As was suggested by Ms. Rowan, there have been lots and lots of discussion at lots of different phases. And coming into this, almost 2 years into this process that's been going on, probably 6 or 7 years or longer, 8 or 9 years or longer, that there have been discussions and decisions by multiple groups along the line to get it to this point. It has been a really, really heavy lift with a lot of layers of bureaucracy and lots of acronyms and lots of different groups and lots of different rules in state and federal. And it's amazing we're able to keep track of all of it along the way, and that it has finally gotten to this point where we're able to take it down and catalog it. And I'm really excited about the fact that it's going to go up in Centennial Park next year, if everything continues to go well. And that's really what we're hoping for. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Rowan.
Yes.
Shay.
Yes.
Schulteis.
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Corbin.
Yes.
Soul.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the item that was taken off of the consent agenda, and that is item 12, Echo 4.5, the emergency purchase of 4 replacement compressors at the Holland Civic Center Place. Mr. Van Beek.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to hand this off to Assistant City Manager Matt Van Dyken because things break sometimes.
Yeah, things break a lot of times, and that's why we have monies in our municipal capital improvement fund and Fix It First and building maintenance, and this is one of those that use those funds expeditiously to fix an issue. So what happened is the Civic Center has 2 main units that run the heating and cooling. Each unit has 2 compressors in it. An electrical issue fried out all 4 of the compressors. So we actually have we have contracts for electrical, plumbing, and mechanical that we bid out. We're able to use those contracts to then make those repairs very quickly. This was, I think, in June. It was already starting to get a little warm. We can't have that unit down, obviously, with the heat we've had over the last month or so, and apparently a month into the future. Obviously, we can't have those units down, so we need to get them repaired quickly. Our ordinances do allow for that, for emergency repairs. Underneath those contracts, the fact that this is a $24,000 amount, above $20,000 triggers us needing to come back to you and make sure that you're aware of and approve of those emergency repairs.
Questions for staff? Mr. Corbin.
So when we redone the Civic Center, did we not put new HVAC systems?
We did.
So how old is this unit or units that we're replacing? at this
The unit would be about 9 years old at this
So
point.
we only got 9 years worth of life out of a system that we put into a rehab, a refinished.
Well, and
facility?
essentially what happened is an electrical issue caused the compressors to fail. But yes, it's a component.
Was it due to a power surge from a source, or?
It fried the wiring out. You know, we had the mechanical people come in. I'm not exactly sure what caused the issue, but they assured us that it was remedied with the new equipment that went in.
I just, I asked for it to be removed and put on the agenda. I just want to make sure we're very much accountable to the public of how much money we're continuing to apply and put into the Civic Center. We're doing that on a routine basis. And I just want to make sure that we're very much aware that we're not just putting this on a consent and just, approving things, but we're understanding kind of the depth of how much we're investing in the building going forward. So I appreciate the opportunity to ask the questions, and I got my answers. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, what is the pleasure of council in regard to this item?
Move to approve.
Moved by Schulteis, is there support?
Support.
Support by Soul. Any discussion? Seeing none. Brenda, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Shay,
Yes.
Schulteis,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Corbin, Soul,
Yes.
Rowan,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item number 13. Communications from the city manager, Mr. Van Beek.
Absolutely. I'll be quick tonight because I know we have some guests that are looking for a proclamation that's coming up. One great night with National Night Out last night, so thank you to many of our staffs from multiple departments that were out there. Great community event, lots of smiling faces, and of course, free ice cream and Polar Patrol always helps. School, our local school district had a bond vote yesterday. Thank you, Brenda, to you and your team for again administering a flawless election. Brenda kind of said, yeah, the phones weren't ringing, and almost when they don't ring, it makes you more nervous than when they do ring, right? So thank you for that. That does shift where council, as you voted to have our own ballot item on the on election in November on Headley. We'll start to get more information out there about that, but obviously didn't want to do that prior to the vote last night. Trees are always important. We talked about 70 trees going into a park in a project tonight. We also do regular podcasts by the city. So listen to that podcast. Andy and team talking about trees that we invest in and partnerships with Hope and how we track that. And also the portal is open where you can register for your free tree through a partnership between the Holland Board of Public Works and the city. So check that out. And then I will tell you, we do have study sessions scheduled for both meetings in August, Council. So you've had several months in a row where you've had nights off, no nights off this month. So just be looking for both of those study sessions in August. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Van Beek. Next item on the agenda, appointments and communications from the mayor. I do have a few appointments this evening. I am recommending to the city council that you approve the reappointments of Nathan Slower and John Crawford to the Neighborhood Improvement Committee, with each for a 3-year term expiring June 30 of 2028. And I would be looking for a motion in that regard. Moved by Schulteis. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Soul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I do have a proclamation this evening honoring the National Emergency Management Month, and we do have some guests here this evening. Thank you for waiting patiently. We have emergency managers from the area. We have Sarah Clark from Allegan. Welcome. Allegan County. We have Lou Hunt from Ottawa County. We have our own Chris Tinney from the city of Holland, sporting a beard. Captain Tinney, I did not even recognize you when I walked in the door. And our own, oh yes, our own Mayor Pro Tem from Kent County. Sure, Mr. Scott Corbin. And I do have to give the credit to Scott Corbin for the recommendation for the proclamation this evening. It's always great to get great recommendations for proclamations. And the proclamation this evening is, as I said, in recognition of National Emergency Management Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Holland acknowledges the critical role that emergency management professionals play in safeguarding our community from all hazards, including natural disasters, technological incidents, and human-caused threats. And whereas emergency management professionals work tirelessly behind the scenes to plan, train, and coordinate exercises with public safety agencies, nonprofit organizations, and the private sector to ensure our community is prepared to respond to and recover from catastrophic events. And whereas the City of Holland is served by a dedicated network of emergency management personnel, including our designated emergency management coordinator, Chris Tinney of the Holland Fire Department. as well as the Ottawa County and Allegan County Emergency Management Departments, who support preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation efforts throughout our city and the surrounding region. And whereas the city further recognizes the partnership and ongoing support of the Michigan State Police Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division, whose leadership and collaboration strengthen statewide emergency capabilities. And whereas emergency management builds resilience in our community, enhances public safety, and ensures that critical resources and coordinated responses are in place to protect life, property, and the environment. And whereas the U.S. Council of the International Association of Emergency Managers has announced August 2025 as the inaugural National Emergency Management Awareness Month, a coordinated industry-wide campaign aimed at promoting the emergency management profession and highlighting the contributions of emergency managers across all levels of government, private industry, nonprofits, and community-based organizations. And whereas this initiative is designed to engage and educate leaders, decision makers, and community stakeholders about the systems, partnerships, and capabilities that emergency managers create and maintain, bringing order to chaos, coordinating complex incidents, saving lives, minimizing damages, and restoring communities following disaster. And whereas throughout the month of August, emergency management professionals are encouraged to work collaboratively with elected officials, public agencies, business leaders, nonprofit organizations, and local residents to foster a greater awareness of the field, build deeper understanding of shared responsibilities, and promote resilience across all sectors of the community. And whereas National Emergency Management Week, traditionally observed in May, also remains a key opportunity to honor and celebrate those who dedicate their careers to protecting and serving their communities throughout proactive preparedness, response coordination, risk reduction, and recovery planning. Now, therefore, I, Nathan Box, Mayor of the City of Holland, Michigan, and members of the Holland City Council proclaim the month of August 2025 as National Emergency Management Awareness Month and reaffirm the recognition of National Emergency Management Week in May as times to honor and express our deepest appreciation to all emergency management professionals who serve our community. The city encourages all citizens, agencies, and organizations to recognize their critical contributions, engage in local preparedness efforts, and support the partnerships that make our communities safer and more resilient. Given under my hand and the seal of the City of Holland, this day, the 6th of August, 2025, Mayor Nathan Box. Thank you all. We appreciate it. And that is all I have this evening. Next item on the agenda, item number 15, appointments, motions, and communications from council members. Mr. Corbin, I believe you have something this evening.
Yes, Your Honor. It is recommended the City Council approve the appointments of Eric Falstad and Tachi Lambers. I apologize if I got that name incorrectly. To the Board of Appeals, each for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2028.
And I would be looking for a motion in that regard.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Rowan. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Raymond. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Any other motions, communications by council members? Yes, Mr. Schulteis.
Mr. Mayor, appreciate the proclamation tonight. I think somewhat unique for the city of Holland, an honor to have 2 different counties support the citizens of the city. Special thank you, Sarah. I know you and your team, I know personally the amount of work your team puts in to ensure that citizens are protected from emergency situations. Thank you for the work.
Any other motions, communications from council members? All right, seeing none, just one more motion I would entertain at this time.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Freeman. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Sol. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those same, we're adjourned. What the heck? Have a great night.